Hi, I'm Ishmael Houston Jones. I am an adjunct professor at the Experimental Theater Wing of Tisch School of the Arts at New York University. And also I'm a collaborating artist with Eiko Otake. Her duet project, Distance is Malleable. Who are you?
Okay. Who are you? You know. Okay, I also teach in NYU in Gallatin. I also teach in other schools too. But basically, I'm a working artist. I'm a dance choreographer, perhaps, both a little bit doubtful. I also make performing arts work that is more interdisciplinary. But in this project, I've been working with many artists, including Ishmael.
Yes. So we're going to be presenting this work at the Scribble Center. I wanted to ask, our history is interesting because you were not a part of sort of the experimental downtown scene in New York City, but all of my friends who were part of that scene were very much aware of you and your partner, Coma. We would always go see your shows at for example, at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, Dance Theater Workshop, The Kitchen.
Yes.
But somehow you were not part of the scene, but we always went to see you.
Thank you. I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, you know. So why was that? Why were you not a part of the scene? But you were definitely iconic. You were people we went to see.
Well, I'm hoping now I'm a part of the scene of downtown because I work with you. One, I think it's true that Coma and I came here 1976. That's a long time ago. I often joke to my students, I'm a foreigner still, but I've been here longer than any other my students. But you know, being an immigrant never stops being an immigrant. And there are immigrants who are very eager to merge into becoming American. At Coma and I came with a lot of hesitation to be an American. Well, we are visiting America, and it was always easier to be a New Yorker before I become American. Right? So I can go to the downtown, I can perform in downtown venues, but we don't take classes, so we don't meet other dancers that way.
Right, interesting.
Right, I never took an audition. I never was in any other people's work, because this is how usually you get to know each other, you know, and in downtown community, like choreographer A performs for choreographer B's work, vice versa. And then you talk in a dressing room. That kind of intimacy, that kind of experience, we don't have any. So we only meet people after the performance, which is very weird way to really develop the even relationship, right? Or I go to see the show, and often, to be honest, I don't know what to say because we come from a very different place. So now I've been here and working with you guys, and also just teaching also makes me feel I can't keep secluding myself in a way of just being a foreigner. I have been quite aware I've been here long enough, you know, to be more fully associated. Also, when Coma and I were working together, we are so exclusive, even though we do collaborate with other people. Basically, people leave you alone. You know, you arrive to the restaurant, we are eating, people come to say hi, they don't necessarily sit with you. Right? In the airport, we are picked up, left in a hotel. Here is a good restaurant. When I'm arriving alone, people don't leave me alone. So I have more relationship.
Interesting.
Yeah, and now I'm doing this project. I'm really pushing myself to be individually meet, spend the time, talk, hear, and then kind of putting myself in a different place in the community.
I don't think I ever heard your voice. This might not be true. Until in 2016, you asked me to be a part of the Duet project.
We never talked before.
I don't think so. I mean, we used to teach at the American Dance Festival in Durham, North Carolina.
So we say hi.
We might say hi, but I don't remember actually ever having a conversation with you. But I'm curious, why did you ask me to be a part of the Duet project in 2016?
Okay, so
Yeah,
I've
sorry.
always, I mean, I hate to say this because now we are in such a good friendship that we tease each other. It's always hard to say. I've kind of admired you from that distance.
Mm.
You know, you are a performer, you improvise, and that's an ability, right? And I'm spontaneous, but with Eiko and Koma's duet, we want full improvising. You know, we set to the choreography within which Koma or I can betray it. But Koma is such more spontaneous. I had to always hold piece together, right? But when I see you and Fred or you alone or with other people, with Yvonne, your ability to know and to be able to sort of destroy it, but put it back.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you know, we are same generation. And with this project, there are huge weight me working with younger people. In fact, almost all the younger people I work with used to be my students. So this is celebrating, they are no longer my students, that's long ago. And they represent to me a very vocal, very different generation.
Right.
But if I'm alone to be this age and everybody else was in their 30s, I start to look like a school teacher with a student, which is not fair to them, which is not fair to myself.
Right.
So I reached out to people like John Jonas, yourself, Margaret Rentang. Those are the people, McKeever, Beverly McKeever. Those are the people who are, Marianne Soto. Those are like people who is within my 10 years range. So some people, Beverly is younger. 10 years younger used to be a lot younger. But when we get older, 10 years difference.
Right, it's not nothing.
Much anymore, right? So except that when we talk about a certain historical event, all of a sudden you are 80 years old or you are 18 years old when that happened.
Right.
Does make a difference, which is also interesting.
Right, we were talking about 9/11 and our students.
Right, are born after.
Yes, but maybe we should show the video from the platform was called A Body in Places at Dance Space Project. And it was our first time we moved together, actually. And
in fact, this series of talking duet was very much supported and co-curated by Judy Hassie Taylor of Dance Space. And it had a previous little trial at LMCC, Lower Manhattan Cultural Council's River to River Festival, in which Judy was also a part as a questioner. So in many ways, this series of my trial of improvising with esteemed colleague kind of prepared me to do this project.
Sure. So we should watch that video now.
Ishmael, if you were going to feed Eiko, what would you feed her?
How do you feel?
It was interesting. It was sort of the first time we ever performed together.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting project. There were other people involved.
In the evening.
That evening, yes. And it was kind of, I think it was really brave. Could you talk a little bit about you're not working with coma, not making work with coma anymore?
Sure. So coma and I, it's a lot to do with actually our common friends, Sam Miller, because from year 2009 to 2012, Sam Miller produced Eiko and Coma's retrospective project. So his idea was, the performing artists always sing with the work now, unlike filmmaker, unlike writers. We don't have the access, our audience don't have necessarily access in the previous work. And then the archive of the video as is very different, right? So he produced Eiko and Coma's work as like museums, at the museums and the different places. That was a great thing to do. However, after 3 years of like looking back, putting a photo wall, putting the installation, putting everything, looking back, choosing the better or better quality, but I could. And I go like, oh, like every day, Eiko and Coma, which always has been the case 40 years because we live together and we work together. It's a pretty dense relationship, which I am proud.
Yes, you have 2 sons together.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Coma is a really amazing artist in his own way. So I have no regret, except that it piles up in you in the 3 years. And then we had a MoMA all day, all week, 1 week of all. And at that point, I began to worry, anything I do next might be a little anticlimax. The 3 years of really hard working everywhere, putting everything we could have. Plus, Coma got a major injury during that time.
Yes, I remember.
So he had repeated surgeries and didn't get healed. And that's a very nervous feeling. You're waiting for your partner's healing. Not very good for him, not very good for me. So again, I talked with Sam, and Sam said, if I can be more diligent being myself, it will actually help Coma, it will help myself, it will help my kids. And I go, right, why do I just not wait and do something, right? And so that something was becoming the soloist. And in a soloist, which I earlier said, I found myself lots talking more people in a very different way. And I did enjoy that. And Iris, who is in this project.
Sorry, what's his last name?
McLuhan. So I knew Iris, I knew Iris for a very long time. And I reached out to them because I was very afraid. How do I make a program alone? I wanted to make up myself, stand on my own feet. How to do it. I also reached out to my colleague in Wesleyan, where I also teach, William Johnston. So he's a photographer, historian. So we started to do the Fukushima project together. And then I am alone dancing or crying in Fukushima and Bill shoots. But then I realized that's not solo. It's in a way, I'm working with Bill. I'm working with landscape. I performed alone 12 hours at Philadelphia Station. I realized, oh, I'm dancing with Philadelphia Station. So being alone doesn't really happen because space is one of my things. Space is never empty. So I don't prepare my dance from studio as if studio is an empty place. I like to work from place. So if I'm in a hospital, I start to think about what does hospital do? Library? What does library do? And how I can intervene.
Right. I saw you at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine.
Yes, again, what each cathedral does, right? So there is a bowl of water, big bowl of water. And the first thing I wanted to do, water, I want to, and then Iris stops me. This is a very important water. Again, my being a foreigner, my being going to a certain place, I'm very familiar, or I'm outsider. So in a cathedral, I'm outsider. I talk to the programmer. Is it okay I behave not insider.
Mhm.
And then they said, unless you welcome outsider, the insider could get rotten by its own belief system.
Interesting.
Which I really thought was very smart,
Mhm.
right? Then it makes me to realize, right, I am half outsider and half welcomed.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's a position I think I kind of hold.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this, you mentioned earlier in this current project or in this series, which has taken place in many different places.
Yes.
Actually, there was at the Rauschenberg residency in Captiva, Florida, at the American Dance Festival in Durham, North Carolina. We performed at the TBA Festival in Portland, Oregon, and we did a showing. I've not been a part of all of them, but we did a showing in Chicago at Columbia College. But you mentioned that you were also working with both mature artists of your generation, but also students, former students of yours.
Yes.
Do you want to talk at all about them, or do we want to show any of the?
Oh, well, so I can show how the Iris and Don Christian talks about
Don Christian Jones.
Don Christian Jones. Thank you. You're very proper. You're very capable. But before that, I think. Yes, so this, just like our Eiko and Kuma's retrospective was never a one shape that traveled. You know, I think Sam and I share this little strange taste about why do we do it in a similar way as other people do? Why do we always make one piece and put it same? So we go here, we make this shape. You know, we go here, it doesn't work, here. So we keep, it's not like completely improvising from zero. I have a concept on saying distance is malleable, right? So we were, hi Ishmael, now we are like this. But if we do this, we can also go this way, right?
Exactly.
Right, so that is a concept. And in that way, yes, last year I had a piece, I invited John Jonas to my creative residency at Dance Space Project. And we had to think about how to do this. So we had a little previous trial period the last few years. So I asked her, or she asked herself, or she invited herself to be directing me. Now she's quite a bit older, so that came pretty natural. In 2 weeks residency, we need to be realistic, right? So we are really talking in different relationships. My relationship with you is very different from my relationship to some other younger generation. So that's all what I wanted to say. And yes, we can introduce Iris, and then probably soon after, maybe I'll talk about a little bit about Iris.
Sure, as a dramaturg.
Yeah.
So Iris is also both a performer and a dramaturg in this project.
Correct. And since 2014, Iris has been a dramaturg of my solo project. And they are very, very smart and very perceptive, pretty serious performance art maker. Also, they are a poet, award-winning poet, so very precise in wording, which I really needed. So I said, okay, I'm doing this Duet project. So would you continue work with me as a dramaturg? And I just said, yes, but you can't leave me only as a dramaturg. So just to the viewers, Iris is in a performance and we are also together. But this one is just a part of his talking. They're talking, sorry Iris, they're talking.
We have to make we have to make a fully new show every place that we go, which is kind of a daunting task, but also I think there's something really exciting about that challenge because it is not just a kind of plug and play piece where we tour with the same group of people. I think each site is a duet between that group of people, the community who is there, the specific space. You know, when we were making this iteration this week, we had to think a lot about how to specifically utilize this specific space because it's very different from anywhere we've worked before. So it is a challenge, but I think it's also a great kind of invitation to remain present with what the work is in the moment and not kind of let it ossify into something that just gets repeated. It has to be new each time.
Great. That was from the American Dance Festival performance that I was not a part of. One of the iterations, and the cast, I mean, we've said this already, changes, which is, I think, really interesting, the sort of malleability of the sort of the concept.
Yeah.
In that clip, there was also a woman,
Yeah.
Beverly McIver.
Yeah.
And she's not in the current iteration of the
Right.
project.
Except I'm showing her her work in the lobby.
Yeah.
As from the video, yes.
Yes, maybe we should show a little bit of that and we can talk over that.
About Beverly?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's number 5. I believe it's a Beverly's piece.
Right.
Yes.
So how did, she's a painter, she's not a performer, she's a very accomplished, well-known painter.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So she lives in Durham.
North
And this-
Carolina, yes.
Right, and this is where American Dance Festival is. So I was introduced to her through the American ADF's director, Jody. And Jody went to Beverly and proposed, can you meet, this project? And would you be interested in? Beverly never heard of me, even though I've been to North Carolina many, many times to perform ADF. So she said, why and who is this person? And Jody said to Beverly, in her understanding, Eiko does what you do in painting. So this was very, producer's talent, right?
Right,
to
right.
bring the interest.
Right.
So this Naked Me is the first night I arrived at her house at 10:45 p.m. for a sleepover, for people that a person I never met. And she came to my to her bathroom that I was taking a bath and asked if she can take a photograph. And that's a very radical way of starting. And that smiling photo at the beginning was the next morning that I was leaving. So we managed. Sometimes project does that.
Yeah.
We don't take a natural progression.
Yeah.
We have a project. We are grown-up artists, and we just become both interested in.
Right.
And there was absolutely no obligation. Jody suggested it with understanding. I don't listen to too many people, but I can take a suggestions
Right.
and then think about.
Right.
And I think Beverly does that too. So it happens. And I was very.
And so her paintings were a part of that project, of that iteration of the project?
Yes. And the funny thing was, I was the first Asian person that she ever painted. And also she paints a lot about herself and her family. So she wanted to meet my mom. So she actually flew to Japan.
Wow.
To meet my mom, except my mother was dying. And she actually died before Beverly arrived. So Beverly ended up seeing my mother after she's dead. It so happened I couldn't get a cremation date for a week. So we had her body. So Beverly came every day to meet and be with my dead mom. And Beverly was in a funeral from beginning to the end.
Wow.
Beverly has never seen how the cremation happens.
In Japan.
In Japan,
Which
we,
is very
we bring
different
the
from-
body
yeah,
out
yes.
and we take 2 people as a pair. We take using chopsticks to bring the bones into China, like what was it called? It's like a jar. Beverly never used chopsticks. And I said, but you've been eating in a Chinese restaurant. She said, yeah, I go to a Chinese restaurant, eat by forks. And that was really, it's almost those little details.
Yes.
You start to understand, yes, we both eat Chinese. I automatically use chopsticks. That's not how, default setting.
Right.
Now there, she's so brave to be really among my people. And she saw the whole different way.
Right.
And when I attended later in her own presentation of lecture demonstration, she's basically saying, my God, going to a very faraway country to really witness the rite of death, ritual of death. Also meet, she and I didn't have much time together,
Right.
but it was a very heavy dose. She met all my family, cousins and friends. And so our relationship is very peculiar. And she painted all that thing.
We paint from photographs of your mother?
Yes, but she takes her own photograph and then she selects. And then of course she doesn't paint as a photograph.
Right.
She changes it.
Right, of course, yes.
Right, so it's very much kind of curatorial.
Right.
Her own way.
And the paintings were part of the performance at ADF?
At ADF.
Yes.
And, I'm really not the kind of person who makes a personal dance because I've been in Eiko and Koma for so long and I've been in a public place doing solo, which is really more of the public dialogue. But how do I use, I didn't ask her to paint my mom. She just ended up doing it. And it's beautiful painting. And I had to create a duet with my mom in order to be able to use her painting. And these paintings weren't available because right now it's in her big retrospective show and it's on tour, right?
Right.
So I just took what I harvested from that, which basically I'm dancing with my mom. And I'm realizing, wow, by doing it, I actually remember. Because I mean, she died in 93. There is not much that I can go crazy about. She died a good death. Also by remembering what a great death she had because I was there. I live 13,000 miles away and I happened to be there for entire 1 month with her all day, every month. I just realized she taught me something. It was completely not intervened death. It was a very slow dying. But I had a sense of completeness. Now I have seen it. It's very painful for me to recognize so many people are killed and not even given a chance to have their own kind of death with their own kind of friends, their own kind of family, or even alone if they choose.
Right. That sort of has come into the current iteration of the piece.
Very much so.
Yeah. Because sort of the times and what's going on now and what has been going on.
Right.
And also sort of, for me, it sort of brought up memories of people that I've lost.
Yes.
And
when
we have a dialogue about that in the piece. So I want to go back to the earliest iteration was you and Don Christian Jones.
Yes. That was even before, long before the idea premiere. And I took him to the Rauschenberg residency. And as I said, Don is actually very close friend with my second son. and my second son actually used his friendship to advocate for him to be in my class. And Shin said, Mom, you're going to like my friend Don Christian. And surely that is the case. I love Don Christian. I love all my students, but with some, I don't pick. I say this very clearly. I don't pick my favorite. I'm not that kind of a teacher. But of course, certain relationship happens. It could be just like I meet in the next morning in a coffee shop. Somebody calls me a year later. Hey, Eiko, can I buy you a beer? Why would I refuse that?
Right, exactly.
I would not approach to the person and say, shall I go for a beer? I don't do that, right? So Don Christian was that kind of a person. And, we've been in contact. And I sometimes, I think I'm pretty sure you do that. Among the friends, we are all New Yorkers. We don't see each other that often. I travel a lot. So sometimes you have that instinct, either somebody else or yourself. Oh, it's about the time to meet
Right,
to get together. You know, how are you doing?
right.
Check
exactly.
up.
Yes.
Because one thing I learned, friendship is not automatically given. You have to work on it.
Yeah.
Right? And
Exactly.
especially long-time friends, you could be sitting on it without updating. Then it just got a little remote.
Mhm.
So I think Don has been good to me not to make it happen. So as my own, I asked him, oh, I'm going to the, Rauschenberg residency. I usually don't go to residency alone because I don't know what to do alone.
I know.
I don't like to work in the dance studio so much. Do you want to come? It just so happened, he just needed to get out. He needed to get out from what he was doing, needed another time and place. He jumped in, he came. All of a sudden, we both realized, oh, everybody else were white, very esteemed, great artists, great human beings. We make many friends. Don Christian is my son's age. So was kind of, he was different. And I
He's
realized,
an African-American, young
yeah, he's an
African-American.
African-American, he's this skinny and, very gentle and painter, musician, but just he's walking around with underwear and I'm like videoing him. It kind of became a little interestingly odd. And it just created our meal time, very different dialogue,
Right.
And I'm realizing if I didn't bring him, even though I'm an Asian, I'll be not even thinking about, right? So, in having another person of a color, you also realize this is not about me bringing color conflict at all. It's me it just became healthy in a way that I don't have to forget about who I am in relationship. And I think that does that.
Right.
Bringing your friends to a completely different group.
Right. When I was at the Rauschenberg, I actually had a friend come down as well. It's I think that's something we have in common.
Yeah.
I also don't go to dance studios and work alone. Like I would go, and then the studio is beautiful.
Right,
It's
beautiful.
beautiful studio, and I would go
And I
there.
go, what do I do?
Exactly. So my friend Sam Hansen came down and helped me. I began writing, and we've been writing together.
Right.
But yeah. So you want to maybe show a little bit of
what he talks about? Yeah.
Don Christian.
A lot of the discussion, the conversation has been cross-cultural, intergenerational, and questions around our distance from one another because we're coming from such varied places. So it's been really affirming and scary and I guess just exciting to see you, Eiko, let go in so many ways and trust us and allow us to be as explicit or nuanced as we want to be in our own messaging. And I have so much admiration for everyone here, and it's been like a commitment to one another has been profound for me.
Thank you. I just wanted to say the younger, anyway, the person who was in right side, Alex is small. I think now they call their name changed Lex Moon. That's recent, so I have to say.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just learned because I had to get her bio. Is also a very close friend of mine. They also were my student, and we worked very closely years during the platform too.
Yes.
They were with me every single day, and they are filmmaker.
And their work, their
work
is in the piece.
Their work is in the piece, in a coming performances.
That's really beautiful. Sort of you in different landscapes in California, or like by a waterfall or in a tree.
And now with this, I could do without their commitment.
Right.
And exactly the way Don said, it's a commitment.
Yes.
The one thing I wanted to add to what Don said is Eiko trust it's amazing, Eiko trust us. Well, it's not so much as I picked a most trustable person. I had to learn how to trust myself to be able to receive and not listen to everyone.
Right.
So it's not about, oh, don't you said this, that's amazing, great.
Mm.
Sometimes I feel that way, but sometimes, would you be able to kindly try half of what you have done
Right.
and put more into that half?
Mm.
And I need to trust myself to be able to say that. And I trust him to be able to not follow, but think about what I said, you know?
Mm.
So it's never about do what I say, but it's never about, oh, I love you so much, I will do everything for you
Right.
the way you want it. So there's the part of me wanted to be equal human being, but I also am most responsible for this evening I'm creating.
You're different. It's your piece.
I want to be, you kept saying this to me, but I want it always correct. It's our piece, but ultimate responsibility is on me.
Yes.
When like Don Christian got really ill in the last place, only for one day, you guys were ready to step in. And that really taught me something. And
Okay.
I really, asked, I thanked Don Christian, not for being sick, but being in this group, because Ishmael and Iris, who were there in that, it just so happened you were always watching each other, right? And even certain sections are really specifically created between me and Don, or between Don and Iris. There's a kind of tribalship. It comes in as a result, not because Don didn't want to do it. He just happened to become not available. And you stepped in, and it was beautiful of its own. I don't think it was less of the evening.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we didn't miss Don, but every performance becomes part of our own experience.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So for that, yes, I trusted what we are doing. That really gave me a kind of validation.
Right. So the last person in this current iteration is Margaret. What is
Yes.
Margaret's last name?
Margaret Rentan. She is usually termed as Dragon Lady.
And it's interesting because I met her here in a social situation, but I've never worked with her. So it's going to be very interesting for me to
That's right.
sort of interact with her.
And this is another good way. So we're not bringing from Chicago to here. Having her into a new mix kind of changes. We all have to like stand tall and give ourselves a lot of time to welcome her, so that she's not just added little candle,
Right.
to a cake that we already created.
Right, exactly. So what about her, Drew, made you interested in working with her?
So part is, as much as we want to create something new, at the age 70, some of our asset and resources, our memories, right? And our experiences, that makes us old in a good way, not always. Not being old is never equal to being wise, which I think is a whole myth. But yes, we do have experiences. So Eiko and Koma had a full evening work collaboration with Margaret.
And when was that?
That was 2007, okay? And just so that if people don't know, Margaret Rentan is really world class pianist. And anyone who see her, hear her play, it's very convincing. So in 2018, when I had a first showing at Cathedral, I invited her, can you just do this? I also invited her in the 2016 platform. And she would ask why. And I said, I need someone I can count on. She just carries herself in, right? I can count on her. But when I was working full evening piece, I kept feeling this is unfair. She plays so beautifully from the score, and the composers are her lover, piano is her lover. She's so good at in both love affair. She calls, oh, it's a collaboration with us, but she so knows what she's doing. And I told her literally, Margaret, this is not fair. You just are so good. And we are literally messing around. Do we do this? Do we do this? Does it make any difference? So this time, I'm inviting her not only as a world-class pianist and my generation with a lot of experience and a great performer. I'm also inviting her to be my friend. Just like we did not know each other, we got to know each other. Margaret knows me, I know Margaret. We need to update, in which I basically said, piano is over there. Can you stand with me here? What happens with you without the piano for this moment? I know your mind is you want to go there. Can you stay a little bit longer here and see what happens? And she very graciously accepted that. She's currently in tour in Europe. I worked with her in her home in a piano room, which has 2 grand pianos.
Wow.
And I asked her, can I disturb your playing? And she said, yes, but I need to know. And so I can kind of start to feel where I can go, but I should not invade.
This will be very exciting for me because I've heard her and just on video, and she's amazing.
She is amazing.
And I'm really excited to be working with her. So maybe we should show.
Yes, please show Margaret video. It's a little short excerpt. I'm sorry, Margaret.
Wow, that was amazing.
Right? So we were rehearsing, and again, she's really trustable in her skill. She came in, we only had 1 rehearsal or 2. But in a rehearsal, so the cathedral had people coming in and out.
St. John of the
St.
Divine.
John, right? And we didn't have any, no, just she's playing. Sound is amazing. People just started to come around, and like 5 of them are weeping because it's just, imagine hearing this, not expecting. And it's not like somebody just end up playing. There's that persuasiveness that created this whole universe. And of course, she was very happy to have this spontaneous way that she can move people. And she's very committed. She's very well known playing those avant-gardist, pieces.
Right.
Yeah, so it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
You said something in relationship to Margaret, and I don't know if you wanted to go into it, but something about having 2 Asian women of the same generation.
Yeah. I think there is a lot probably by inviting her. Well, flying her for part of the evening to Oregon would not be very good for me or for her. She's here. That's practical.
Right.
She's my generation. In fact, I don't think Margaret will be mad to say she's a little older than me, which is very liberating because she's so good with what she does and she's so active. 3, yes, she's an Asian woman. She's an immigrant. And within an immigrant, English is her first language because she's from Singapore. Okay, she went to English school throughout. So we're looking at each other She sometimes gives me the clothes because it became too small to her. Now it's too small to me. Now she's skinnier. So we're this kind of friendship. Even with two immigrants from Asia, we have a difference. Yet from outside looking, we are that old Asian women.
Interesting.
Right? And I wanted that to be in part of this evening. What people read into this is up to people. But I mean, we are very aware as Asian people. I get a letter from my building, please do not go out alone. Because, the violence to the Asian people has been, especially to the women, has been rampant. And it's in my neighborhood a lot. What do? I write right now, currently, I'm here, do I just really limit myself? Do I need a guard? No, of course I walk around, right? But that tension, that also same the tension that war brings, the tension, the racial injustice, unjust brings, the tension of any violence, bad politics brings, it's all part of it. And her power. But you saw me doing this to the piano.
Yeah.
Everything she does has a reason because it's in a score.
Right.
Everything we do this, makes no difference. That's always a problem for me. In a way, movement is more random.
It can be.
Why? But
Our movement.
Because
mean,
neither of us work for a choreographer who said, no, it has to be this. With all that amazing reasons, we don't do that.
I have done that.
You have done that?
In my life, yes.
Okay, I have never done that.
Yes.
So to me, it's always random. And I can say, oh, this was for whatever. I know this may not be seen unless.
I mean, that is in my own work. It's like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes it helps, but sometimes it also makes us a little bit lazier in a way that we don't have to define it. We have less articulation. Yeah, movement we articulate, but not so much. Well, fully knowing this or this has the same value, but not so when she plays.
Right.
So it's contrast to me. So I'm kind of saying, oh, how ambivalent, how ambiguous my movement are, which is reckoning.
Right. So it's a very interesting mix of sensibilities that you're bringing, and it is. I mean, you are the catalyst.
Well, I have invited.
Yeah, you have invited.
They didn't have to say yes.
Yes, exactly. But from me to Don Christian Jones to Iris McLaughlin to Margaret, it's a very interesting mix. I think it's really exciting, actually.
And it's not only exciting for the audience.
Oh no, that's what I meant. It's exciting
it's for
us.
So to me, that's important. That because I have a feeling, especially with this ambiguousness, unless it matters to me, why could I expect it could matter to other people, right?
Exactly. So
I talk to myself pretty hard. Why does it matter? It's a kind of question that I think I so respect and Harpring keep asking to her student and herself.
And a helper.
And Harpring, who was my mentor, whom I consider as a mentor. We never said that while she was alive. But now looking back, I really think how much I've been inspired. And inspired more than influenced, because it's not direct influence. It's like so inspired I am that I ask myself the same question: what matters and how we want to make matter. So, how you and I dancing, why it has to matter to both of us.
Exactly.
So if it matters to both of us, the third audience who is looking at us from that generation, it could matter.
Right.
Oh, my people. It could be a different race people. If young audience are looking, oh my God, they look like much older than my own parents, right? And that could matter.
Right.
So this is what I've been thinking.
So is there anything else we need to talk about or?
I want to just say, and I'm saying this in the program note, so excuse me if you already saw the performance and tuning on this. I'm really not a good performance art theater maker. We already kind of defined that. But I'm interested in keep experimenting some of the facets and how to put this temporary house. So I still hope in Scabo, this is our house, we gather, right? But in the next place, we might do gather differently or with a different person in a mix. So why I'm doing this? Because it's easier to just make a one piece and tour with it. I'm really thinking this is like making a mosaic. Mosaic is an evening. And then if we think about all the evening together, especially now you know my intention. So I go to be with this project with different mix in Arizona, or she was in North Carolina with a different mix. So the whole project one can imagine as making a kilt. And when we talk about
Quilt?
yes, thank you. Quilt. I think I like that metaphor. You know, remember like AIDS quilt, right? That each of have so much both sadness and memories,
Right.
and appreciation of memory,
Right.
So one of us will die before each of us, because it will be very rare if we both die together unless we're in an airplane together. So each of the duet, not only the meals we ate together, but I think some of the moment we experience with our audience support will become very important memory to each other.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think this project has been very important to me, and I'm really.
You never said that.
I'm really happy.
Thank you.
Really happy to be a part of it, and yes.
Thank you.
I think.
Yeah. So I think this is a good place to end. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.